Zarakesh had long accepted her place in Thixian society. Her scales were a dull gray-brown, lacking the iridescent shimmer that made her sisters the envy of their colony. Her crest lay flat against her skull, refusing to fan out in the dramatic displays that attracted mates. Even her tail, that supposedly elegant appendage, seemed shorter and less graceful than those of her peers. She worked in the archives of the Galactic Council's Xenobiology Division, a position that suited her perfectly. Here, among the data streams and specimen catalogs, no one cared about appearances. Here, she could contribute without the constant reminder of her inadequacy. The human arrival changed everything. Earth had finally been granted provisional membership in the Council, and their delegation had arrived with the usual fanfare. Zarakesh watched the ceremonies from her workstation, mildly curious about these peculiar bipeds who had somehow survived on a death world classified as extreme risk by every civilized species. She first encountered Marcus Webb 3 cycles later, when he stumbled into her archive section, clearly lost. "Sorry to bother you," he said in surprisingly good common tongue, "but I'm trying to find records on silicon-based life forms, and this place is a maze." Zarakesh kept her eyes on her display. Subsection 7, Neural Interface Terminal 12. "Thanks. Hey, would you mind showing me? I'm still getting used to the interface protocols." She sighed, rising from her station. Humans were supposedly clever, but perhaps their reputation was exaggerated. As she guided him through the corridors, she noticed him staring. "Is something wrong?" she asked, her translator picking up the edge in her voice. "Wrong? No, Sorry, I don't mean to be rude, but you're absolutely stunning." Zarakesh stopped walking. Her translator must have malfunctioned. "Excuse me?" Marcus looked genuinely confused by her reaction. "Your scales? The pattern is incredible, like storm clouds over desert sand. And the way they catch the light, it's subtle but beautiful. Really beautiful." She felt her secondary eyelids flicker in distress. Was this human mocking her? "My scales are plain gray, unremarkable." To who? Marcus stepped closer and she noticed his eyes, so strange with their single focal point, tracking across her form with what appeared to be genuine fascination. "Look, I've been studying xenobiology for 15 years. I've seen hundreds of species, and I'm telling you, you're one of the most aesthetically striking individuals I've encountered." Over the following weeks, Marcus became a regular visitor to the archives. At first, Zarakesh assumed he needed research assistance, but gradually, she realized he was coming specifically to see her. He would bring her samples of what he called coffee, a bitter human stimulant she found oddly pleasant. He would ask her opinions on matters far beyond her expertise, seeming genuinely interested in her thoughts. And he would compliment her, constantly. "The way your crest catches the ventilation currents is mesmerizing. Your tail has this elegant efficiency of movement. Not showy, just perfect. Has anyone ever told you that your eyes have this depth to them? Like looking into amber." Zarakesh tried to dismiss it as human peculiarity. Perhaps their visual spectrum was different. Perhaps they had strange aesthetic preferences. But Marcus wasn't the only one. Other humans began arriving at the archives. They would pause when they saw her, some even requesting holocaptures with her as if she were some exotic attraction. One human female, Dr. Sarah Chen, actually asked permission to include Zarakesh's biometric data in a study on cross-species beauty perception. "You don't understand," Sarah explained over coffee in the station's observation deck. "Humans find beauty and difference in subtlety. Your coloring? We'd call that sophisticated, understated, the kind of beauty that reveals itself slowly. And that crest shape? It's elegant, graceful. You'd be considered striking on Earth." Zarakesh's claws trembled against her cup. "But by Thixian standards..." "Thixian standards are for Thixians," Marcus interrupted, having joined them. "Look, every species has beauty standards shaped by their evolution, their environment, their culture. Thixians prize bright colors because on your homeworld, vibrant displays signaled health and genetic fitness in your ancestral savanna environment. But humans evolved differently." Sarah nodded enthusiastically. "We had to survive by noticing patterns, by seeing beauty in camouflage and adaptation. The hunter who could spot the tiger in the tall grass lived to reproduce. We learned to see beauty in subtlety, in things others might overlook. Plus," Marcus added with a smile, "we're contrary by nature. Tell a human something isn't beautiful, and we'll find a way to prove you wrong. It's kind of our thing. 3 lunar cycles later, Zarakesh stood before the mirror in her quarters, studying her reflection with new eyes. The scales she'd despised now seemed interesting, complex. The way they shifted in the light created patterns she'd never noticed before. Her crest, when she relaxed and stopped trying to force it into dramatic displays, had its own quiet elegance. She wasn't transformed. She was the same Zarakesh she'd always been. But somewhere in the space between Thixian beauty standards and human perception, she'd found something unexpected. Not validation from others, but the freedom to see herself differently. Marcus had taught her something profound about his species, something that explained so much about humanity's rapid rise in the galactic community. Humans didn't just survive on their death world by being tough or clever. They survived by finding value in what others dismissed, by seeing potential in the overlooked, by making beauty and meaning from the broken and plain. It was the most human thing imaginable, to look at something the universe had deemed unremarkable and insist with stubborn conviction that it was worth cherishing. As she prepared for another day in the archives, Zarakesh allowed herself a small, satisfied flick of her tail. She was still plain by Thixian standards, but perhaps, she thought, that wasn't the only standard that mattered.